Alrighty then, gents and gentlets, we're going on an Easter egg adventure to Africa. No, I'm not talking about Lion King or the Pine Lands of Africa. Today we're going into the jungles of Africa for everything you missed in Disney's movie, Tarzan. Tarzan starts off looking very much like a cartoon version of Disney's classic Swiss Family Robinsons. It starts off with the ship is in the storm. The family escapes to an island. They build a tree house. There's a tiger, of course. But that's as far as it goes. Disney's creative enough to show us that this was actually going to be more like several of their movies. But first, here's a few hidden Mickeys scattered all throughout the movie. Easter eggs were a way for Disney to show ownership of the movie, and also because the animators would sometimes get bored drawing the movie one picture frame at a time, so they would put secrets in there for their own entertainment. That's why you find Easter eggs to older movies from before it would even be possible to spot these Easter eggs. I'm talking about like VHS days. Unlike a lot of movies, Tarzan had two villains, Saber the leopard.
Saber.
Oh, it's Saber.
Yes.
Of course.
And Clayton the gorilla poacher. We know Saber is the murderer of Tarzan's true mother and father, but thankfully Tarzan unknowingly avenges his parents' death.
I will find you, and I will kill you.
The problem though is leopards only live an average of 15 years. So since this is the same leopard that killed his parents 20 years ago, then Tarzan basically killed a super old grandma leopard. So killing the leopard wouldn't be nearly as hard as fighting Clayton the villain, which we meet almost immediately after Saber the villain dies. Because what's a movie without a bad guy? Clayton and Saber actually have a lot more in common though than just wanting to kill Tarzan. They actually match like the Olsen twins. Their color is exactly the same. Clayton's scarf is the same color as Saber's tongue. This was deliberately planned to show you that Clayton was going to be the next bad guy. Originally Saber was going to be a Black Panther, which would probably make Clayton look more like Malcolm from Jurassic Park.
Oh, there it is.
But obviously because of our beloved Bagheera from Jungle Book, they decided that would probably be a bad idea. Speaking of the Jungle Book, ironically, just like in the Jungle Book, we had an elephant stampede. But wait a second, these elephants are red. Actually, red elephants isn't really a thing.
Are you sure?
But when Disney went on their little research trip, they found elephants would cover themselves in red dirt. And this is a form of sunscreen for the little guys. And that is why they look red. Another Disney movie that snuck its way into Tarzan was Beauty and the Beast. In the camp trashing scene, my favorite scene, we can see Mrs. Potts and Chip. Is that how Chip got his chip? But there's even more from Beauty and the Beast and Tarzan.
You came back. You came back.
That worked.
It's possible Jane's father could actually be friends with crazy old Maurice, because that looks a lot like Maurice's hourglass. Just like Gaston in Beauty and the Beast, Clayton attacks the hero the same exact way, and he dies the same way. Well, almost. But instead of hitting the ground, Clayton... Well, how do you put it nicely?
A short drop and a sudden stop.
Still question the connection to Beauty and the Beast? Well, Glenn Keane was the supervising animator for Beauty and the Beast, and for Tarzan.
Oh, shall I leave you and the blackboard alone for a moment?
Beads? Blue beads? Just like the ones Gus collected in Cinderella. I'm sure by now you've heard about the conspiracy that all the Disney worlds are connected. Well, part of the puzzle is that Anna and Elsa's parents from Frozen went on a journey across the same ocean that Tarzan's parents went on, and their ship got stuck in a giant storm. But we never actually saw the ship sink. They just disappeared behind a wave. It's magic. So people think that Tarzan's parents could possibly be Anna and Elsa's parents, making Tarzan their brother. Even though Tarzan's parents' eyeballs and Anna and Elsa's parents' eyeballs aren't the same color. Also, the real reason why the directors of Frozen didn't show the ship sinking was because they thought it would bring bad luck to show a sinking ship in a movie. Chris Buck, the co-director of Tarzan and Frozen, was questioned about this little conspiracy and whether or not it's actually true. And his response was this: if you want to tie them all together, then do it. That's the spirit of Disney. Well, there you have it, they are related, and that also means those are Gus's beads. Survey time! Ba-dum-bum-bum! So the real question is, what do you think? Vote now! Is Tarzan Anna and Elsa's long-lost brother, or were they from two totally different ships and they have nothing in relation? Also, a fun little fact is my little brother actually made it in the movie. Pretty cool, huh?
Make a note of this. Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow.
Okay, I don't actually have a little brother. It's Mulan's little brother. When Porter's being hung upside down by the gorillas, little brother falls out of one of his pockets. A gorilla in a cage, stolen by two guys. That sounds familiar. That's because just a few years earlier we saw two guys pushing a stolen gorilla in a cage through the jungle, in Georgia the jungle.
Moves like an ape but looks like a man. He could be the missing link.
The missing link? I'm confused. Was this a secret Easter egg from Incredibles?
Are you gonna let a monkey make a monkey out of you? What?
On the ship, the skipper that captures Jane and locks her in the basement is a cartoonized version of Tarzan's supervising animator, Glenn Keane. When they're breaking down the camp, we see a cameo to the directors Chris Buck and Kevin Lima as some of the evil crew. But before the camp got packed up, let's rewind and watch the slideshow. The clock tower is the same one from Peter Pan. And the castle, it's the Neuschwanstein Castle in Germany, which is what Sleeping Beauty's castle was based on. And that Sphinx? Aladdin. Another thing we find from the trashy camp song, which is probably my favorite song from this movie growing up, they're busting out the butt bumping dance moves just like an old Disney short in the bag.
Ever wonder what those sparkly dots are up there?
When they're teaching Tarzan how to be human, the comet they're looking at is Halley's Comet, which you can see every 75 years with the naked eyeball.
Oh, gee. I always thought they were balls of gas burning billions of miles away.
Back in the day, Disney didn't know if it would be appropriate if Tarzan had a wine.
That's a liquor reference, liquor! He's talking about liquor!
So they had to get permission from the creators of the original Tarzan, and it was decided that he can hold the wine glass, but he can't drink any of it. That's why he set it down. Disney also had a debate on whether or not it's appropriate to say the word butt in their movie.
My butt!
Fast forward today, and Pixar rolls out a video with 2 cuss words.
Something on my butt!
Disney even had a deleted scene of Saber killing Tarzan's father in the battle in the beginning, but decided that would be a little bit too graphic, so they just showed the scene of them hiding behind the table, taking a really long nap, kids. In the Capture the Ape scene, blue represented safety and red represented danger. Clayton was the danger, and he literally brought the red with him, bringing the apes out of safety, the blue. Then Tarzan came and restored the safety. Even when Clayton and Tarzan were fighting, depending on who was winning the fight at the time determined the color of the scene. The jungle is also a character in the movie as well. When the gorillas are hugging each other goodnight, the tree is actually hugging them as well. You can see the tree is in the shape of the arm. Then later on in the epic fight when Kerchak dies, spoiler alert, the jungle then cries over his loss. If you watch closely though, when all the monkeys walk away after Kerchak finally dies, he disappears. Oops. Another oops was when Tarzan battled Saber, watched Saber scratches him, and then seconds later the scratch is gone. This is actually a mistake that Disney knew they weren't including the scratches because it would take too long to include these throughout the entire movie. So they just tried to pretend it magically healed really fast. Now Tarzan's epic tree sliding skills were inspired by Glenn Keane's son's skateboarding skills. Also, the entire ending of the movie was almost much different than what we actually saw. They were originally going to have the end fight scene on the ship, but then they realized if the fight took place on the ship, that would give Tarzan a huge disadvantage of not being able to use a jungle to his advantage. Speaking of ships, does this boat that Clayton is driving look familiar? Well, it should. It's the same boat they use in Disney's Jungle Cruise. There's quite a few things that are actually referencing to this ride. Remember the hippos in the water? Don't worry, they only flap their ears if they're going to attack. And also a wonderful waterfall. We can also take pictures of the elephants playing in the water here because they all have their trunks on. It's a good thing Tarzan didn't get the wrong end of that rhino. If you don't get all these puns, you probably didn't go on the Jungle Cruise ride. Once you go on the ride, you'll get my point. We all know Gaston doesn't know very much about gun safety. Neither does Clayton. He's about as smart as a monkey. But this monkey right here looks down the gun barrel just like a monkey on the Jungle Cruise ride. The book that Jane is using to teach Tarzan how to read is a real book from the 1930s that they used to teach kids how to read. My question though is why, with having a limited amount of things to bring on this little cruise, would she have brought a book about learning how to read? Maybe she thought she was going to teach the monkeys. Fun little fact, Walt Disney's favorite president was Abraham Lincoln, and we can see Abraham Lincoln in the picture frame in the treehouse.
Stop hitting yourself! Stop hitting yourself! Stop hitting yourself!
Being that this movie took place on the same continent that Lion King took place, naturally we're going to see quite a few references. Tarzan has a heart-to-heart with his reflection in the water, just like Simba did. And eventually he sees his father figure, just like Simba did. And the reason why they made Tarzan hit the water was to make the similarity of these two scenes less obvious. Tarzan also wrestles his best friend as he's growing up, and he also loses those wrestle matches. And the bird in the water is just like the birds in the beginning of Lion King. Of course, this reference can't come to a full circle, you know, the circle of life, unless we end the movie the same way the Lion King ended. I just bought a bunch of Funko Incredibles 2 mystery minis, and I'm giving them all away. Follow me on Instagram at I'mCrazyNate and leave a comment on this picture, and I'm gonna randomly pick a winner to win a mystery Funko Pop. If you enjoyed this week's show, let me know with a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe so you don't miss our next adventure, and let me know what movie you want to talk about next. But remember, most importantly of all, gents and gentlets, share a smile. They are contagious.
Hey, share a smile. They're contagious. Can you imagine a day without smiling? Whew, that would be outrageous. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with Crazy Nate. Make sure to leave a thumbs up if he left you feeling great. Have fun and we'll see you next time. And don't forget to subscribe.